Hello everyone, and welcome to this webinar today titled From Web-Host to Cloud-Host. My name is Syed Hashmi and I am the founder and CEO of Hosting Controller. It is a company that provides web hosting automation solutions. Some of you already know us. For the rest of us, a brief overview is that we are providing hosting automation solutions for the last 10 years, and it's a product which is quite popular in most of the web hosting community around the world. In the next 30 minutes or so, we will take a crash course on how to transition from being a web host to a cloud host. And you will have an occasion to ask on any questions that you might have, and after this half an hour, we will try and keep half an hour. So to answer your questions, today I am being assisted by our Vice President of Business Development, Babu Zaman. He will be here to answer some of the questions, and I will answer the rest of the questions. So let's start with the webinar now. Okay, the agenda today is in the next 30 minutes, we will quickly take an overview of what is cloud hosting. Then in next few minutes, we will have a brief overview of what is the current market size of cloud hosting and how is it expected to grow in the coming years. Then we will see quickly how to transition from being a web host to a cloud host, as I believe that the majority of the attendees are somehow in the web hosting business, so it's a natural transition for them to be a cloud host growing in their business. After that, we will try and reduce the whole complexity of being a cloud host into 5 simple steps that you can do to be a cloud host. And in the end, we will see that how Hosting Controller allows you to be a cloud host. So this is the agenda for the next 30 minutes. Let's start with it. So what is cloud hosting? Traditional hosting revolved around the hosting of websites and web applications. Cloud allows hosting of multiple services, making the host into a service provider. So what we are doing in this transition is that we are just increasing the scope of the applications which are offered as a service to the customers. Previously, the whole thing revolved around a web server and web applications and things allied with that. For example, emails and other stuff. Now we are trying to offer a whole bunch of services. Anything which is a server can be served as a service, and we are trying to offer all of these services as a service to the customers, and we'll see how to do it going forward. Benefits of cloud is there are few benefits which are so compelling that the market is really growing and it is expected to continue to grow. The first and foremost is an increased utilization of resources. What was instrumental in making this change happen was the onset of virtualization. With the virtualization and the technology maturing to an extent where it is just a commodity, it's easier for us to utilize the same resources for a larger number of people than was possible before virtualization. Before virtualization, the minimum atomic quantum that could be used by a customer was large. Now we share everything there is, including the CPUs, the RAM, the memory, the hard disk, the network, the bandwidth. Everything is shared between too many people in a very minute granularity, so that allows a lot of cost benefits to the end customer. And this actually results in a lower total cost of ownership for the end customer, which is typically paying anywhere between 1% to 10% of the price that he would otherwise be paying if he tried to own everything on his own. Then the cloud also has an added advantage of offering increased mobility. And in this thing, the data, since it is residing in the cloud, it is not residing in any on-premises location. It is accessible from everyone, since people are now demanding data to be accessible wherever, however, whenever, in all our ways. So they want it on their mobile devices and out on the road. So the cloud, since it's visible from everywhere, the data which is residing in the cloud is also available, and people can have increased mobility to have the access to their data. Multi-tenancy is just another concept where the same resources are being shared by so many tenants, and virtualization provides the required isolation between those tenants so that one tenant does not bother the other one sharing the same premises, if you will. And this technology is then as at the core of all the cloud hosting, that you are sharing everything between multiple tenants. And then obviously there are benefits of scale, because previously if every organization had to have an IT department which was taking care of everything, now the economy of scale dictates that it's possible for people to share those resources with a large number of people. So going through these benefits of cloud, if we quickly look at the market size, we see that Gartner says, which is a research company, that currently the last year the market surpassed $68 billion for cloud computing and cloud hosting. Now this should be compared to the worldwide market size of web hosting, which after like millions of websites is still estimated at anywhere between 10 to 12 billion dollars. So the cloud hosting market is already 5 times bigger than the web hosting market. Obviously web hosting is but a subset of cloud hosting. So the web hosting is included in this market size, I believe. And looking forward, if we see that some research organizations are saying that this spending is going to increase to $100 billion by 2014. And there are Forrester, which is a very reputed research company, has said that this spending on the three avenues of cloud hosting is going to be increased to at least $160 billion, and this is the most conservative estimate. Other industry estimates are pitching it at anywhere between $200 and $240 billion by 2020. So as we see that another research which is on a higher side says by 2020 cloud computing market is predicted to hit $240 billion, which makes it bigger than so many other industries in the world, and will be by far the largest spending coming out of the consumers. So this obviously provides a huge market opportunity for the web hosts to grow into a market which is going to grow to like 20 times in the next 10 years. So this is why we are holding a seminar, and the technology and the automation has really made it easier for the web hosts to tap into this new market. Intel is predicting that just the spending on virtualization is going to spend on to something like $40 billion by 2016. Now, obviously, virtualization is but a small portion of the whole cloud computing spectrum. So once we have looked at the market size of cloud computing, we are going to quickly look into what cloud computing is, and how are we going to transition from a web host to be a cloud host. So broadly categorizing cloud hosting into 3 steps of the value chain, it's usually divided by the industry into 3, and they are named as an infrastructure, a platform, and a software. So you are going up the value chain as you are going down this image on the left, or on the image on the right. So you're going up. So the very basic entry-level cloud hosting is that you just provide the infrastructure. If you want to add value to that, you go to a platform, and if you want to add further value, you go to a software. So we look at each of these in detail now. Infrastructure-only providers provide the basic compute, storage, and networking resources. So we will spend a few minutes on this one. Let's say that you only intend to upgrade yourself from being a web host to a cloud host that provides infrastructure. Most of you are already doing it by offering a VPS or a virtual private server hosting. What you do when you provide a VPS is that you only provide the bare metal server and a basic compute resource. What you will do is probably allocate 1 single core of a CPU or 2 cores of CPU with some RAM, some disk space, some network bandwidth, and you will share it, and you will call it a virtualized private server, and you will give it to a person. And that already makes you a cloud host if you're doing it. And if you're not doing it, it's a simple 1 step that you upgrade yourself to basic infrastructure which the person can use to do, well, anything in the world. At infrastructure level, you are actually not restricting the use of the user to any specific thing. Within the resources provided to him and provision for him, the user can just do whatever he likes. So at this level, all you have to do as a host is to just guarantee uptime of the resources and provide the networking and the connectivity. That's all what you are doing. You are not adding any value towards any specific domain. So this is the infrastructure level is pretty much the same as a web host level, where you really do not indulge into the domain and what the user is trying to do on his website, whether it's a dump website, a static website, or a whole web application. You don't really go into the domain. The user is free to choose, and the user has the required domain knowledge. And the required difference is bridged by control panels and other automation that the user who is not technical can still self-serve himself. So you are not really into the domain, and you are providing infrastructure. So at this level, you are just providing infrastructure. So if we go I step up the value chain, you can probably position yourself to be a platform provider. And a platform provider is not just a basic infrastructure. A platform has to have something which adds value to the basic infrastructure. And to separate it from the software as a service, the platform is a middle ground where you do provide some extra things in addition to the infrastructure, which allows people to do something. So the examples are numerous. For the platforms, let us take an example of a unified communications platform. What will a unified communications platform allow people to do that the infrastructure did not allow them to do on their own? You add some of the things which are not included in bare metal computing infrastructure. What you can possibly do is to add virtual phone lines, which anyone doing unified communications will need, or you can add media mixers, which are devices, extra devices, which are used to mix, for example, audio channels if people are trying to do audio conferencing. And two or more people are supposed to speak at the same time, you need a special hardware that will mix the 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 sound streams together and make one sound stream which everyone can hear. Or you can have video mixers, which are again specialized hardware which people can have, and they will allow people to do video conferencing, and it will allow people multiple video streams to be mixed into a single video stream which will be streamed to all of the users. So such specialized hardware and such specialized paraphernalia like the virtual phone lines, together with the compute and bare metal computing resources, makes it a platform. So once you offer a platform to people, people can use it for anything within the domain. For example, if you have offered people a unified communications platform, they can run any office communication software like Microsoft Lync, for example. Or they can have any other open source PBX software like Asterisk or Trixbox or Yate or something else. Or they can run any of the audio and video conferencing solutions. There are so many freeware and so many commercial solutions out there. Anyone who wants to run that solution needs to come to a cloud hosting company offering them the required platform which is needed to run that software. That software, if it's an audio or video conferencing software, or it's an company IVR software, or it's a voicemail software, or it's an office communication software, they will not run on a bare metal infrastructure provided. They will need extra equipment, extra platform things, which the cloud host can provide. Here in the US and North America, it's easier for you to get virtual phone lines, but you have to have a telecom connection, so you're not providing bare metal computing things. You have phone lines, virtual PRIs, or other phone lines coming into your place, which again you are sharing with multiple people and offering them to share them as their own resources. So once you go above the basic platform, basic infrastructure, and you add some value to it which is non-domain specific. I want to go back to a few screens and highlight the word non-domain specific, which means that so far we are not specified to a domain, let's say Office PBX. It's just communications. Communications is a big domain. Communications needs a platform that you can provide, then the whole domain opens up. Then there are obviously other domains that you can go into. Gaming is one domain. Video streaming is yet another domain that needs a platform of its own. Gaming needs a platform of its own. If you have the platform, you can be a cloud host that's offering gaming. People can load any of the gaming servers and they are into the gaming. Video streaming is a huge thing. There are so many other domains coming up that you can do. So as we saw that after infrastructure, the next step in the value chain could be that you go a step further and you offer a platform. If you intend to go yet another step further, you can be a software as a service provider, which is a SaaS provider. SaaS providers go a step further on the value chain and also provide the software that runs on the infrastructure and on the platform actually. So as we said, the platform allows you to run any of the software. So the office communication platform can be used to run 4 software, but if you choose a specific software, for example, you choose Microsoft Lync as an office communication server which is going to run on your platform, or you choose an Asterisk PBX or a Jet PBX or another open source PBX like Trixbox, which is a very popular PBX or a free PBX or any other software. If you restrict yourself to be a software provider, you load the software for people, you are called a software as a service provider. Now, SaaS examples are numerous. There are like at least thousands of them, if not more, and you can choose to offer one or more software as a service to the people. And once you have this, you need to develop some domain knowledge which you can have. So as we can see on this one, there are hundreds of more domains, and a domain means a domain that takes a platform for it, and then over those domains there are thousands of available options for software that you can run. Most of the time hosts are offering open source software which are obviously free and available for everyone, and they are pretty robust now, but there are reasons for people to offer commercial software as a service as well. So what is it that a host need to have to be a software as a service provider? This is a key question on which we need to stay for a few minutes and look into it deeper. Why can't a user use the same software on his own on a bare metal infrastructure? Why can't a user just load an office communication server and run it on its own VPS, for which he's paying $15 a month or $20 a month or whatever? The answer here lies in the domain knowledge. The domain knowledge is yet another resource which should be considered a very scarce resource, and it is in no way different than the hardware and the software and the networking resources that you have. Not too many people have the required domain knowledge to offer the software as a service. Whatever domain you choose, you need to have some value addition going in the domain knowledge that you have on that thing. So if we continue with our example of an office communications or unified communications, unless you and your guys have the required domain knowledge to add to the customer, your offering is no different than a bare metal system where the user can just load the system on his own and work on that. So anyone who intends to be a SaaS provider needs to go back, look into all of these thousands of options and see and choose for himself and ask him a question: which are the domains where I have to have some knowledge? Have I worked sometimes back in a CRM company? If the answer is yes and you think you have a domain knowledge of CRM, there is a big business case for you to be a CRM SaaS provider. As we speak, CRM SaaS remains the biggest chunk of cloud hosting, and it stands at more than $2 to $3 billion as we speak. And so many companies do outsource their CRM to a cloud hosting company. But you have to have the required domain knowledge. If the answer of the domain knowledge comes on the unified communication, go ahead and be a SaaS provider for one of the unified communication softwares. We in a sister company provides, for example, a hosted solution for a voice over IP solution. For people do come and instead of paying $16 or $20 or $40 for just the bare metal platform, they are willing to pay us that the whole offering starts at $350 a month and goes to $650 a month, and people are willing to pay this extra money because they do not have the required domain knowledge to install and run those open source free software which are available out there. They do have support questions, they do have technical questions, they do have interoperability issues for which they keep coming back to us, and they pay the premium in the price. So usually software as a service without the required domain knowledge is not where the juice is. So if you get the domain knowledge in something, you can just share the domain knowledge with a lot of people who are all using the same software on your hosted platform, and they are all running into the same issues day in and day out, and then they do not have the resources to figure out how to solve them. So that pretty much closes the three steps of the cloud hosting as the industry has divided them into infrastructure, platform, and then software. If you choose, you can keep adding value for the end customer for whatever he does. We have mentioned three things in here, like you can offer them a managed hosting of the software that you are hosting for them. Management of a software is definitely a value addition. People need management. We can keep talking onto these value adds, but it will probably be better if we offload this discussion to yet another webinar on what extra value additions can a cloud host offer on top of the bare bone software as a service. But people need management of their software. They need monitoring of their software. Monitoring of a software is more than just monitoring the heartbeat of the server that it's running. You need application level intelligence to be able to see if their queries are actually being responded, if their voice calls are actually being connected, if their people are actually getting the results that they should, and then there are probes that you put into the software so that you can monitor the service correctly. It's a dimension of its own. Then people may ask your help in maintenance of the software, because software is continuously being upgraded. There are bugs, there are patches, there are bug fixes, there are hot fixes coming up from the vendor. And all people may ask you to keep their software up to date, and then it's a value addition that you can provide to them. So you can keep adding value and going closer and closer to the end user. And the whole idea is that if you can reduce the end user to just run the operations of the software using the GUI provided and offload database management, system management, service management, monitoring, maintenance, level 1 support, level 2 support to you, there is a chunk of money in each of these services that you can provide to a customer when you are hosting his solution as a software. So far, the bulk of the cloud hosting is revolving around open source free software. But there is a definitive chunk in offering commercial software to the same people as well. Open source free is now pretty robust. You can find good pieces of software for almost everything that you do. But there is definitely a market demand for commercial software. Now, if you are offering a commercial software, you do not have the liberty to just install it on as many servers as you want and then just offer it to your customers. You have to take a license. Either your client has to take a license or you have to take a license. If the client takes a license, he is a one-off customer, and then the equation is different between him and the vendor. But if you as a service provider take a license, then all the large companies have offered a special service provider license agreement, and that is especially geared toward web hosts and cloud hosts because of the nature of the business has changed. So since a cloud host is sharing the same infrastructure, the same server, so he's also sharing the same license with a large number of people. You need to have a reporting mechanism in place that reports correctly all of the licenses which are active at some time, and the vendor will give you a bulk volumetric license that you can just reuse on all of your offerings. And then they need to have checks and balances, and you need to have checks and balances with your end customers, that when they sign off and when they cancel their subscriptions, your licensing reduces, and at the end of the month you pay a monthly fee to your vendors, all of your vendors from whom you are licensing the software based on a service provider license agreement. So this gives you a pay for use thing. You can start with zero and just have a service provider license agreement established with your vendor, and whenever you offer the first instance of the software, you start paying them at the end of the month, or usually they give you 2 to 3 months to pay. And then you pay for 1 instance, and when you grow to 5 instances, you are paying for 5 instances. You don't have to go back to the vendor usually with SPLA, and you can offer these licenses. So it's more value add for the host when he's offering commercial software for the same people. So let's go on how can you transition from being a web host to a cloud host. We have tried to reduce it into 5 simple steps, and they are mentioned in here, and we'll look at each of these steps next. So step 1 is obviously you arrange initial bare bone Linux and or Windows servers. That's what you do. So you have to choose whether you are offering only Windows, only Linux,
or both. Usually these are the two which go in the industry. There might be other operating systems which have a very minute market share, so we are not discussing them. We are only discussing Linux and or Windows. So you choose, do you want to remain in Linux only, Windows only, or both? Whatever you choose, you have to have at least one server each, or as many as you want, and then you can pay as you grow. So that's the basic thing, that you will either have your own, or you will probably co-locate in some data center, or maybe you can just rent a dedicated server from someone, and you are already in the cloud hosting business. Then step 2 is for you is to arrange a control panel. This control panel will be used to do mainly 3 things. First of all, it has to have a provisioning server. So whenever the order comes from your order management system or billing system or whatever sign-up process you may have, it needs to provision the VPSs, the virtual partitions that needs to go on the servers. The second thing it has to have is a self-care portal, that once you have configured the bare metal system, you need to give control to the end user so that he can self-serve himself. And the third thing is a service manager, and a service manager we'll see later on, that it is an automatic service activation deactivation system that suspends a user service when the money does not come in, based on the queue from the order management or billing system, and then it resumes the service when the money comes in. So it's an automatic service management of the customer. So these are the 3 things that you need to have in a control panel. You need to find such a control panel, and the combined product in the industry is usually called a master console. So once you arrange a master console, you go to step 3, and based on your console and whatever control panel you choose, you make template images of all your cloud offerings, both on Linux and Windows, whatever you've chosen. So for example, if you want to choose, taking the same example, unified communications, you want to just offer a platform, you know that the platform goes with some drivers, some software, some other servers, maybe a MySQL database and things like that. Everything you bundle together, you install it on one server, you go through your control panel template making processes, or your vendor may provide you with the required templates already, and you make all of those offerings into static templates, and then you name them and you price them. So once all of those templates have been made, a template can be pushed onto a virtualized partition as and when you need that. Mostly for the infrastructure, your control panel vendor will provide you with the templates, but if you are going up the ladder, up the value chain, then you have to make your own templates for the platforms that you are offering, and especially for the software that you are offering. So the third step is that once you have all of those templates ready, you name them into plans and packages, and then you price them, and whatever price you want to choose. And you can have different versions for the same thing with different combinations of RAM, CPU, hard disk, and if the software has different variations like 5 users, 10 users, 20 users, something, whatever is it, you just make templates of them and you keep them template and name them and price them. That was the step 4. And obviously step 5 is start selling. So there isn't much of it in step 5. Once you have everything ready, you just add all of those things into your sign-up processes. The customer come up, and when he signs up, the control panel sign up gets the queue to provision the required resources on the cloud, and the control panel provisions it and sends an email, and the user then self-serves himself through the service management system. And then the billing system takes over, and as long as the money lasts, the service keep running, and when the money runs out, and if he doesn't pay, and if the payment fails, the billing system gives a queue to the control panel that suspends the service, and when the money comes up, it resumes. So that is the whole 5 steps of being a cloud host from Web-Host. If you have any questions on these, you can ask me now. Otherwise, we'll continue with the rest of the thing, and I'll answer all the questions at the end. So what do you have to check in a master console? So what we saw is that from being a web host to a cloud host, all you need to arrange is a master console or a control panel. So what is a checklist that you need to check to see if it serves your purpose? First of all, you need to see that if you want to be a Linux only host, it supports Linux. If you want to be a Windows only host, it supports Windows. And if you want to support both, then the control panel can work on both the operating systems. Then it needs to have a single self-serve for the people, because the people will come and they will see, and they have lots of things to do on their self-serve portal with the virtualized machines that they have, and they have to go and do that. So you need to see that it has a comprehensive self-serve portal that allows their customers to do all of self-serve management from a single place on both the Linux and the Windows servers. Thirdly, you need to see that can it integrate with any of your billing systems? Does it come with its own billing system? If yes, is the billing system good enough for you? If not, do you need to source another third-party billing and order management system like WHMCS or whatever you want to use, or you use something now and you just want to continue to use? You need to see if the product integrates with that billing system. And the last is that the software has some service management capability, so that whatever billing system you need, whenever it sends a queue, can it suspend all the services for the people for some time, and then can it resume automatically, or you have to do things manually? And does it have the capability to really purge all of those instances created and reclaim all the resources back when accounts just go off because people just sign up and then they never come back? So it should be an automatic process where when the money runs out, the services are suspended and then they are purged, and if the money comes, they are resumed. It should all be automatic. That is the next thing that you need to check in your master console when you are going for a cloud hosting thing. So that was the long and short of cloud hosting. In the next 2-3 screens, we will quickly see how hosting controller offers and what hosting controller offers and what it doesn't for you to be a cloud host. Hosting controller has an extra product, a module if you will, that is called a hosting controller virtualization suite. It supports Hyper-V on Windows, and it supports a Zen hypervisor on Linux. And whatever bare bones systems you choose, you just install the hosting controller virtualization module on them, and then you have to have a dedicated server that will serve as the master console, and you will have this single server which is represented here on the right, that the administrator is using the master console in the cloud above to provision all new servers into the system, and then the end customers are just doing their self-serve, also logging into the master console. The master console is looking at whatever 5, 10, 20,000, 2,000 servers you have in the cloud. It's looking after all of them. Whatever the instruction customer does or gives, it just executes it on all of the hosting servers, and that's the whole purpose of the master console. And then the virtualization module provisions everything on both the Linux and the Windows. We are also in the process of supporting VMware both on Windows and Linux, which should be either available in this coming build or the next build. And then it will complete the basic industry standard products being used for all of the virtualization things. So a quick note about the company. We are based here in Richmond, British Columbia in Canada. We started development of this automation product back in 1997, and the first control panel was launched in 1999, so it's been a while. And during this time, some 5,000 plus companies have purchased the panel from us. They are mainly web hosting companies, as I said, and thousands are still using it till today. And so we have a pretty large community of users using the product, since we only offered Windows products till like 2008. So the bulk of the people who know us better and who have been using our products are those who did Windows hosting as well. But since 2008, we do have Linux products for the basic shared hosting and other dedicated server hosting, and we also have Windows software solutions for those things. In addition to, the latest version is 8.0, and it supports both Windows and Linux, and it does, through the virtualization module, it does offer a master console for cloud hosting solutions, in addition to being a control panel for dedicated servers and share hosts. And what other special market niche we carry is in the automation of Microsoft Enterprise Application Suite. That includes Microsoft Exchange, SharePoint, Office Communication Server, and we also integrate BlackBerry and most of the things into the product. And that is something that we also offer. So we are probably going to hold a seminar, a webinar next on how can you be into the business of offering hosted Exchange and other Microsoft Enterprise applications. So that's going to be Next, this is our contact and office address. You can contact us at this address given and the email, or you can visit our website for more details. So let's take some questions from you and see what questions you have. Okay, the first question comes and it says, it's asking for more details on the templates and how do you make the templates and how do you change them. The answer lies in the fact that if it's a bare metal infrastructure, then your control panel vendor will probably provide you with bare metal templates because there are no combinations or alterations in this thing. It will be like, let's say, a basic Linux bare metal template for CentOS, and that's it. That's all what you need probably to give to a customer. Or it could be a basic template with a control panel installed on that, for example, cPanel or hosting controller or Plesk or whatever other industry names you might know. It could be a template that you install once on on some of your system, and then you then you just replicate it onto the others. But if you are going a step further into the platform and into the SaaS region, then you need to use the tools provided to you in your control panel. What you do is that you install it on a bare metal server, whatever combination you want to do, and then once you have everything configured as you want in all of the new applications and virtual machines that you will provision, once you have everything ready like that, you click the save template button and the whole image is converted into an .iso image, which is a binary image, and saved onto all of your provisioning servers. And then you have to do this exercise once for all the offerings that you make. And if you choose to offer the same thing in 2-3 different offerings, like with different usernames configured or different limitations or something, then you need to make 2-3 different templates. And every time you configure the whole system, once you are satisfied it's working out of the box, you press the tab, you click the create template button, and the templates are made, and then they are pushed into all of the servers. So when you are configuring your control panel, you push all of your templates into the server, and then they are provisioned on demand. And then if you are going a step up and you are offering the software, then the whole thing is no different than what it is for the platform. You still have to do the whole exercise, except that you configure even everything into a functioning system. So if your whole application or the software needs a web server, a database, an application, whatever thing, you have to provision everything into a template and then click OK, and then you go. Then you make those templates there. Okay, the next question is hosting controller the base product and you add on the cloud modules? Okay. Okay. The answer here is yes, hosting controller is the base product. You need to add a virtualization module, which is something that comes, so far it comes standard with the basic hosting controller product. Later on it might be priced separately, but as of now, as we speak, this is a module that comes with the basic hosting controller product. And you can either purchase the product or rent the product, or depending, you can also have kind of an SPLA license also if you are a dedicated server provider which is providing a license in bulk, in which case we will arrange accordingly. Okay, the next question is, what is the difference between cloud hosting and a service-oriented platform? I would say they are pretty much the same thing. What is a service-oriented platform is what cloud hosting is. What we are talking here today, especially in this webinar, is how to provide the required automation and the required management into the whole offering so that the web host can just offer the same business cases in the same automated way as he used to offer for the websites. So a service-oriented platform is basically a platform, as we said, and it will be prepared to offer a specific service. What you will have to do is to just close all the complexity of this service-oriented platform by installing it onto a one box and making it into a template. Once you make a template, it's kind of commoditized for the provisioning industry as we know it, and the template is pushed to a person, and he starts getting charged for the use of that thing, and the whole complexity is then handled in the service-oriented platform. And as I said, service-oriented platform is an industry name, and there are like tens or hundreds or thousands of people who are offering different types of services as a software as a service, and they have made their own platforms that you can choose to offer in the cloud. Okay, so the next question is, how to make the selling of cloud into all automation. As it looks, HC8 won't be supported by most of the popular billing CRM systems, for example, WHMCS. Yeah, the answer here is actually yes and no. Hosting controller, if you intend to use hosting controller, this webinar is geared towards a general purpose education and is not really a pitch for the hosting controller product, although it is a sales pitch for the product as well. So if you choose to use hosting controller as your automation platform for the cloud hosting, it does get integrated with first of all, it comes with its own billing system. So you can use its own billing system and it will work for you for the basic use cases. But if you have an existing system, it is integrated with WHMCS, and we keep upgrading our version with WHMCS, and we are also supporting some other billing, or are also going to support some other billing systems. So you will have an occasion to use this with any of the other billing platforms that you intend to use. And as I said, the core functionality which is needed in the control panel is the service management behind an external billing system. That's the core functionality needed. And service management, as I mentioned, it has 3-4 basic use cases. The first use case is suspend services. So when the billing system says suspend services, it needs to suspend all the services, keeping all the data intact, so it can resume them, which is the second use case. A basic use case for service management is resume services, that once the billing system says resume, it can resume it and everything goes back to as it should. And then the last of them is purge the resources, and purge reclaims all the resources and it just purges all the data. And these are the very 3 basic service management use cases which need to be present in a control panel. On top of that, there are occasions where you may need some more advanced use cases towards service management. Like, for example, you do not want to shut off someone's service the moment his money doesn't come up or his grace period is over. There are cases where you intend to degrade his service to a level and give him an occasion to come back to manage your churn, which is much better. For example, you can probably stop him from popping his email while his incoming email is still coming in. So his email isn't down the moment his credit card is declined. His email is coming up, but he can't pop the email. So, or if it's his phone service, you can degrade it to a level where he can get incoming calls, but he cannot make outgoing calls. On an outgoing calls, you play an IVR that your subscription is not valid anymore. So in such cases, there are more advanced use cases which the control panel may or should provide you, or you may have your own customized scripting to do that. And those are the use cases that you might be looking. But if you are looking at the basic suspend, resume, and purge use cases, they are supported in hosting controller for the basic bare metal system. And yes, it does integrate with WHMCS. So if you run into any issues with integration in WHMCS, you can always contact our support. Okay, next question is, when do you plan to support VMware? Yeah, I think I answered it in between, that we are working on VMware, and part of it will be available in this coming build and all of it will be available in next build. So we are looking at sometimes in early next year, maybe in a month or 2 from now, when we will support VMware. But as I mentioned, the bulk of the offerings of VMware are now commercial and paid, and it's no more a totally free software as it started with. And at times it gets pretty expensive on that as well. And then that's why we support Xen, which is a very popular product in the industry and pretty industry tested product as well. So you can start with a Xen on Linux, and then when VMware is available, if you want, you can do that. And the next question is, can the Windows Server use Xen like Linux? My answer is that I do not know if Xen is available on Windows or not. And the other answer is that no, we do not support it on Windows. On Windows, as we speak, we only support the Hyper-V, which is a Windows built-in hypervisor. And on Linux, we support Xen. So that's the current state of affairs. But as I told before, you need to have a single master console server. For hosting controller, that master console server has to be a Windows-based server. You have to have just one master console in the system, which in theory at least is enough for you to provision as many Linux and Windows server as there are. So you don't have to have another Linux box to serve as a Linux-based control panel or master console. You don't have to have that. You just put one master console server, which is doing all the three steps which I mentioned. It is doing all the provisioning on all of the servers that you have connected, and then it is also doing all of the self-serve portal which people are using, and it is also doing all of the service management. Okay, the next question is, can the servers be placed remotely, or they have to be in the same place as the master console? Okay, the answer is that yes, the servers can be placed anywhere. So you can probably have as many servers in as many data centers around the world as you may find, or as you may like, or as you may find good prices for. All you need to have to be a cloud host is a single Windows server, a minimum of one Windows server which is serving as the master console. That server is able to provision anything and everything onto any of the data centers in the world as long as they are connected to the IP. Or you can do some more intelligent VPN networking or something in between those two servers, if you will. But that's at a network level. There is nothing in hosting controller that is stopping you from taking those servers around in the world, and you can just keep them anywhere. There was a design decision involved here in this, that the templates, because they are pretty large, at times they run into gigabytes. Should they reside onto each and every single hosting server that you have, because the person might choose anything. So we had a design decision so that if person says, okay, move me from package A to package B, we had a choice that the whole binary image is transferred from the master console to the hosting server wherever it could be in the world, since it could use prohibitive amount of bandwidth. So the decision for HCA is that we put all the templates on all the servers that you configure for the hosting. So if you have 5 templates for Linux, all the Linux server in the world will have those 5 template binary ISO images residing on them, so that the customer, when a customer comes on the self-serve and says, move me from package A to B, we don't have to transfer any large files on the wire. It's all locally available there. And I hope that answers your question. Okay, next questions is hosting controller compatible with Debian 6 VM guest OS? My question would be, yeah, my answer is that yes, it is compatible with Debian, and you can have a Debian instance configured as a template, and then it will be pushed into the virtual machine. There is. Okay, next question is that, can hosting controller helps in domain knowledge as well? If someone has nothing including domain knowledge and business model, how can HC help? Well, that would be kind of an extension of what we do, you know. So I think the domain knowledge, as I said, needs to come from you, because there are like thousands of domain. We do have domain knowledge. If you want to offer a bare metal server, yes, we will give you the required domain knowledge. But if you want to offer a CRM system or a gaming solution, or maybe an enterprise resource planning solution or something else, you know, we actually do not have any domain knowledge in that. But there is a part in provisioning and automation that obviously needs to be looked into for whatever domain you are coming in from. So definitely you can talk to hosting controller, and hosting controller is pretty good in that thing. And that we will tell you how to automate that. What we can do for you is that if you have your own solutions ready, we can make them into templates, because making templates is a bit tricky process. And that is something we can help you. So you give us a server, you give us the remote access of a server where you have installed the whole image to your satisfaction. You know that it's good to go and can be replicated to as many customers as you want. All the files, all the configurations, all the INI files, all the pointers, all the file names, whatever there is, it's all pointing correctly to one another, and it's a functioning out-of-the-box ab initio system. Then you give the remote access to us, we will make a template for you, and then you can keep pushing that template into any of the virtualized partitions that you have. Okay, next question is that once a partition has been created, can we push more things into that thing? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So yeah, once a partition is pushed, then we have once a partition is pushed, then we have an option to trigger an initial file, and then we that file is executed. Then that file is then executed on the server, and usually what it's doing is that it is pushing some of the it is just pushing some of the initial things. I mean, like the IP addresses and other things. So that initial file is triggered when a new partition is created, and then you can probably extend that initial triggering file to do some more stuff if you need. Which are cases, for example, you have to put the IP address into some of the configuration files. Then you can extend that file to do some stuff on you. So whenever a new IP address is pushed into the partition, you can share that. Okay, so if you have, do you guys have any other questions? There are some more questions coming, but I think we are pretty much done for today. If you have any other questions, you can send us an email, and we will be happy to get back to you, and we will contact you on the email. So thank you everyone for attending the webinar today. It was good talking to you, and we'll have occasion to meet more, and we will have occasion to show the product to you as well. And probably we will have another webinar on the same topic maybe next month, where we will see based on the feedback of this webinar what other value additions can hosts offer to their customers, and what value can hosting controller offer to them in providing the required automation and provisioning. Thanks everyone. Thank you, and bye-bye.